right, so look, I've been called a lot of things on Instagram. I've been called a coon. I've been called a sellout. I've been called a piece of shit. I've been called a black woman hater, a hater of all women, a Trump supporter. You know, I've been called a whole lot of things because I've had a few questions or concerns about Kamala Harris, which really confuses me because I didn't think that me having any questions or concerns about one candidate is an automatic support of the other candidate. It's just like, yo, if I'm looking at you and I'm considering voting for you, I think I want some questions answered before I actually do it. But no, that's not what's going on out there. There's a lot of people that's just like, yo, Kamala, like, you know, we got to support her. We got to rally behind her. You know, you got Magic Johnson.
We have to do all we can to elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States.
You got Samuel Jackson.
She's running on a proven track record of fighting for the people.
You got Eminem.
Detroit. What up, though?
You got Beyonce that's going to perform at her, you know, rally in Texas. You got all these black celebrities that they're pushing out in front. And, you know, I mean, outside of Eminem, you know, but you got so many of these celebrities and just everybody just endorsing her. But my question was where was that love in 2019, 2020? Check this out. The 2020 Democratic preference. This is why she had to drop out when she did. She was at 2%. The people said they wanted Biden, they wanted Sanders, they would consider Warren, hell, Buttigieg, hell, even Bloomberg. But after Bloomberg, it just dropped. And then it went down to 13% that was unsure. So I'm like, wait a minute. Where was all that love and support for her in 2020? And I hear all the time, who saved Biden in the primaries? Who saved them? Black women. Y'all ain't want to save Kamala in 2020? You want to save her now, though, right? Okay, fine, it's cool. But look, don't knock people like me or people that look like me for having questions and concerns, because I'm honestly like, I just can't relate to it. She looks and seems so scripted. So scripted. She answers the same questions the same exact way. But let's get to this question where we're going to talk about immigration, right? And before we get to that, I'm going to show you this real quick. Illegal immigration in the U.S. In the bottom, the very, very bottom, look at that red arrow. That's when Trump left office. If you look above it, that red arrow points to when the clampdown of the border begins, okay? Because remember now, he threatened to shut down the government because they weren't trying to give him what he felt he needed to, you know, secure the border. But eventually he was able to start clamping down on it. You see how the numbers died down. But look when Biden got in office, 21, 22, 23, 24, they hit record numbers, okay? All right, so here we are. She's finna get asked about immigration. Watch how she answers this.
I want you to meet Jackson Weiss. He's a student at Drexel University from Flourtown, Pennsylvania, registered Republican, says he's leaning toward voting for you, but has yet to make up a final decision. Jackson.
Thank you, Anderson.
Hey, Jackson.
Thank you for taking the time to be here, too, Vice President Harris.
You too, thank you.
Regarding the rapid increase in the migrant population, how will you ensure that every immigrant is integrated into American society safely? What benefits and subsidies will you provide them with? And how long will these benefits and subsidies last for an individual? Most importantly, will the American citizens' taxes pay for these benefits and subsidies? And if so, how much money will be allocated?
Well, thank you, Jackson. Let's start with this. America's immigration system is broken and it needs to be fixed. And it's been broken for a long time. And part of what we need to do is always prioritize what we need to do to strengthen our border. I will tell you, I'm the only person in this race among the two choices that voters have. I've personally prosecuted transnational criminal organizations in the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. I have spent a significant part of my career making sure that our border is secure and that we do not allow criminals in and we don't allow that kind of trafficking to happen and come into our country. And as my opponent has proven himself, He would prefer to run on the problem instead of fix the problem. You may know there were some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress working with others that came up with a border security bill that would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border. Those border agents are overwhelmed. They need the support. They need the backup.
Does it sound like she's answering the question so far, people? I'm telling you, that's a major problem with her. She's not answering the question. He asks us a specific question, and she's rambling.
It would have allowed us to have more resources to stem the flow of fentanyl. I don't need to tell this state and people around the country what is happening in terms of the scourge of fentanyl and how it is literally killing Americans. It would have put resources into stemming the flow. It would have given more resources to prosecute, to investigate and prosecute transnational criminal organizations. It would have done a lot of good. Donald Trump got wind of the bill and told them, don't put it forward. He killed the bill because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. We have to have a secure border, and we have to have a comprehensive pathway for citizenship.
Let me.
Do you know how bad that sounds for somebody who's not even an elected official to kill your bill? Do you know how bad that sounds? Like, I hope people are paying attention to that. How did you allow somebody who was no longer in office, who was not even holding a seat in any office? I could see if he went back to being a senator or he went back to being a governor or whatever. He was completely out of U.S. government. And he was still able to kill your bill. Now, when I watched her last interview before this, it was brought up that there was also 6 Democrats who voted against that same bill. She won't talk about that, though.
And that includes requiring people, hardworking people, to earn citizenship and do it in a comprehensive, humane, and orderly manner.
Let me ask you about that. I mean, you talk about the bill that Donald Trump quashed. That was in 2024. You talk about the bill he tried to get passed in 2021. That wasn't able to get passed. 2022, 2023, there were record border crossings. Your administration took hundreds of executive actions. It didn't stem the flow. Numbers kept going up. Finally, in 2024, just in June, 3 weeks before the first presidential debate with Joe Biden, you institute executive actions that had a dramatic impact, really shut down people crossing over. Why didn't your administration do that in 2022, 2023?
First of all, you're exactly right, Anderson. And as of today, we have cut the flow of immigration by over half. In fact, the numbers I saw most recently, illegal immigration
But if it
is
was
low.
that easy
Hold on,
with
let me
that
finish.
executive action, why not do it in 2022, 2023?
Because we were working with Congress and hoping that actually we could have a long-term fix to the problem instead of a short-term fix.
You couldn't have done one and both at the same time?
Well, here's the thing. We have to understand that ultimately this problem is going to be fixed through congressional action. Congress has the authority and the purse. I hate to use D.C. terms, but literally they write the checks. Part of the issue is in order to really fix the problem at the border. I was just at the border recently talking with border.
There she goes rambling. She starts rambling, avoiding what he just asked her. Why couldn't you do both? Why couldn't you do both? How come you guys couldn't walk and chew bubble gum? And now here she's starting to veer off with the good old famous word salad.
Border agents, you know what they talk about? Yes, they are overwhelmed. They're working around the clock. And the other thing that they talk to me about, we need more judges down there to deal with asylum claims. We need more personnel down there to deal with processing. But Anderson, and that's where Congress kicks in terms of dedicating the resources to actually fixing the problem. We have dealt with it such that, to your point, we now, as of today, as of our visit, have lower undocumented immigrants and illegal immigration than Trump when he left office.
That's true.
But we need a permanent solution, and that requires bipartisan work.
Do you wish you'd done those executive orders in 2022, 2023?
I think we did the right thing, but the best thing that can happen for the American people is that we have bipartisan work happening, and I pledge to you that I will work across the aisle to fix this long-standing problem. I think the American people are demanding it on both sides of the aisle. And it's time we actually put the partisan approach to this aside. We know what can work.
Well, let's talk about this compromise bill that you want to pass if you're elected. You said that's going to be a priority. It includes $650 million in funding for the border wall. That's something Republicans wanted. That was part of the compromise. Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project. Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall. So remember, Donald Trump said Mexico would pay for it? Come on, they didn't. How much of that wall did he build? I think the last number I saw was about 2%. And then when it came time for him to do a photo op, you know where he did it? In the part of the wall that President Obama built.
But you're agreeing to a bill that would earmark $650 million to continue building that wall.
I pledge that I am going to bring forward that bipartisan bill to further strengthen and secure our border. Yes, I am. And I'm going to work across the aisle to pass a comprehensive bill that deals with a broken immigration system. I think Jackson's question, part of it was to acknowledge that America has always had migration, but there needs to be a legal process for it. People have to earn it. And that's the point that I think is the most important point that can be made, which is we need a president who is grounded in common sense and practical outcomes. Like, let's just fix this thing. Let's just fix it. Why is there any ideological perspective on this? Let's just fix the problem.
To fix the problem, you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I am not afraid of good ideas where they occur.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything.
Let's see why he couldn't do much of anything. Since she claims he couldn't do much of anything, let's go back to that primetime television moment where he was arguing with Chuck and Nancy about the border. Let's go.
I think we can agree on is we shouldn't shut down the government over a dispute. And you want to shut it down. You keep talking about it.
The last time, Chuck, you shut it down.
No.
And then you opened it up very
20
quickly.
times.
And
20 times.
I don't want to do what you did.
20 times
Chuck,
you have called for, I will shut down the government if I don't get my wool. None of us have said.
You want to know something?
You've said it.
Okay, you want to put that on
You've
my...
said it.
I'll take it.
Okay, good.
You know what I'll say? Yes. If we don't get what we want, one way or the other, whether it's through you, through a military, through anything you want to call, I will shut down the government.
Okay,
absolutely.
fair enough.
And
We
I am
disagree.
proud, and I'll
We
tell you what,
disagree.
I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck, because the people of this country don't want criminals and people that have lots of problems and drugs pouring into our country.
And now, who looks like they were in the way of who trying to get their border security pass? Ooh. You smell a little bit of hypocrisy there, right? With the guy who was not dealing with record numbers of, illegal border crossings. Sounds like to me people are getting in the way of other people's policies because they don't want them to get credit for anything. So everybody's just getting in the way of it and then blame it on the other person, right? But let's get to this next topic, man. This next question when it comes to Kamala Harris, where she completely just, I don't want to be too hard on her, man, but it's just so frustrating when you can't answer a question and just like try to be relatable, man. Like try not to sound so scripted. You know what I'm saying? But let's get to this real quick. Let's see how this goes.
Let's go to the voters. I want you to meet Joe Donahue from Bucks County, Pennsylvania. He works in customer service for a local retailer. He serves as a local election official. He's a registered Republican who says he's undecided, doesn't agree with your stance on abortion, but he is concerned about what he calls Trump's demeanor and actions on January 6th. Joe?
Thank you, Madam Vice President, and thank you, Anderson. Madam Vice President, everybody as human beings, we're not perfect. We have our flaws. We make mistakes. We have our weaknesses. And the office of the presidency can sometimes bring those weaknesses out in ways that the incumbent may not expect. What weaknesses do you bring to the table, and how do you plan to overcome them while you're in office?
That's a great question, Joe. Well, I am certainly not perfect, so let's start there. And I think that Perhaps a weakness, some would say, but I actually think it's a strength, is I really do value having a team of very smart people around me who bring to my decision-making process different perspectives. My team will tell you, I am constantly saying, let's kick the tire on that. Let's kick the tires on it. Because, listen, as I mentioned earlier, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a courtroom prosecutor. I've tried everything from low-level offenses to homicides. And I learned at a very early stage of my career and adult life that my actions have a direct impact on real people in a very fundamental way. When I was Attorney General of California, I was Attorney General of what is the 5th largest economy in the world, and acutely aware that my words could move markets. So I take my role and responsibility as an elected leader very seriously, and I know the impact it has on so many people I may never meet. And that is why I engage and bring folks around. So I may not be quick to have the answer as soon as you ask it about a specific policy issue sometimes, because I'm going to want to research it. I'm going to want to study it. I'm kind of a nerd sometimes, I confess. And some might call that a weakness, especially if you're...
I got an answer. Maybe she should have me in her campaign. I got a weakness for you, Kamala Harris. One of my weaknesses are sometimes it's a little hard for me to be open about my life because, I've just been so, I've been so, headstrong as far as digging in deep with, my job as a prosecutor and as a DA. I didn't really have much of a social life. So it's hard for me. I understand I could come across as unrelatable to a lot of people. I think that's one of my weaknesses. How about that? Or how about a lie and say, hey, one of my weaknesses are, I think that I care so much about the working class people that sometimes I can be overzealous of things that I want to get past or things that I want to do. And another one of my weaknesses could be of when it gets shut down, I get frustrated, I get angry, and I need to work on my patience. I'm very impatient about things that I'm very passionate about, which is the American people. How about that? Oh my God, it's off the cuff.
You're, in an interview or just kind of, being asked a certain question and you're expected to have the right answer right away. But that's how I work.
I don't think I've ever heard the former president admit a mistake. A lot of politicians don't. Is there something you can point to in your life, political life or in your life in the last 4 years, that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many mistakes, and they range from, if you've ever parented a child, you make lots of mistakes too. In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
I got an answer for that. What's a mistake that I made? I'll say this, Anderson. I think one of the biggest mistakes I ever made while being vice president was not be more transparent about what I have going on, what my job duties are, and how I'm doing things, being more vocal, being more seen. Because as we all know, Joe Biden is, the oldest president in the United States of America. But let's just say for a fact, if he wasn't president in the United States, the oldest president in the United States, let's just take the age out. For whatever reason, God forbid, something happens to the president, I should be already made myself relatable and comfortable enough for the American people to be comfortable with me taking over as president. And I think that's one of the mistakes I made, is that, I didn't put myself out there for people to be more comfortable with me, even being right now as I'm running for president, because there's people out there that still have a lot of questions. And for them to have a lot of questions, that's on me, because they should already have known who I am, what I represent. Is it really that hard? They ask, what are your weaknesses? She talks about her strengths. They ask, have you made any mistakes? She talks about her not making mistakes. It's a mistake not to do what I do. Let's kick the tires. So if you're sitting here and you're telling me that you can relate to that you're okay with that, something's wrong with you. I'm sorry. Something is wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with being honest. If the politicians are going to lie to us, I mean, can we not lie to ourselves? I don't know. Like I said, I know what I get with Trump. And no, it's not all good. It's not all bad. It's not. I'm not going to sit here and say that Trump is the worst president of the United States of America. You want to know why? Because there were presidents in our past that has passed legislation and have done things that dramatically affected my community. I don't remember a piece of legislation that Donald Trump passed during his administration that dramatically hurt my community. I can't say that he helped it, but he damn sure didn't hurt it. You guys talking about that 2025 project, the Project 2025? Well, as far as I'm concerned, it hasn't even hit the floor yet for a vote. But I do know the 1994 crime bill. That's why I'm more critical of the Democratic Party, because that is the party that's supposed to be for minorities and the black community. But when I look at policies, a lot of their policies are the reasons why we're still having these conversations still to this day. But that's just my opinion. And it's a very unbiased opinion. I'm open to Republicans. I'm open to Democrats. I'm open to independents. I'm open to the Green Party. I'm open to any and everything that helps us as an American people, and especially my community, because we need it. So with that being said, you guys let me know in the comments what you think about that town hall. It's becoming, very obvious that her campaign does not think that they are in a good enough position in this election. She wants another debate with Donald Trump. I'll say this, because Donald Trump did say this, and it makes a lot of sense. When you win a fight in boxing, you're not usually the person who says they want a rematch. It's usually the person that lost that says they want a rematch. And I don't think that she necessarily thinks she lost the debate. I think she thinks that she's losing or about to lose the election because she's not relating to the American people. But that's all I got to say on that. Till next time, folks. Peace.
The forgotten party.
My fellow citizens,
it is strong.
It's my duty to report
the true problems of our nation.
We vigorously developed this resource to be of great benefit.
Where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause.
I will be eternally grateful for your support.